Thank you for joining me. This is BizD with C, BizDev live with Cameron Toth. We have the amazing Jane McCarthy, JaneSTORM. We're going to talk coaching today. We're going to talk affirmations today. We're going to talk mind mapping today. Stay with me. We're going to get into the BizDev theme, and we will be right back with you.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Thanks for joining me today. We are getting into JaneSTORM, Jane McCarthy. Jane is Chief Brainstormer at JaneSTORM and a transformation coach. She has the energy and capacity to command large groups and the curiosity, the intention, and listening skills to work one-on-one to extract positive and long-lasting results. Her 30-plus years of experience in Verizon customer service, marketing, and loyalty has served as her foundation as a certified master coach. Jane is an expert in work-life balance and volunteered for 10 years as chairperson for Relay for Life of Yorktown for the American Cancer Society and brings her knowledge of team building and positive affirmations to her clients. Jane is a loyal, lifelong New Yorker, happily married for 25 years, and a mom to 2 kids, 22 and 19 years old, who thankfully are old enough not to need homeschooling at this time. Jane, thank you so much for doing this with me today. If I can unmute you. There we go. You get
Boom! It's so good to be here. JaneSTORM's in the house.
I want to get into a lot of different things, but first I want to mention that we've had the chance to work together. And for anyone that hasn't worked with Jane, you just have to. Just the process of going through, because we had 4 sessions, and just the process of going through and telling the story, the questions that you were asking, it made me think in ways that I just hadn't, made me realize things about the way that I felt about myself. It was definitely therapy, but building that, I've had a chance now for several nights to hear that affirmation statement, and it is a life-changing experience. So I just want to start things off with that I've definitely tested things out here, and I know that you're the real deal. I want to get back into your history and all that kind of stuff, but I want to start people off with what you're doing right now, what's going on. I know we were talking about not only can you go and check out Jane at JaneSTORM.com for coaching and all that jazz, but you have this Autumn Power Surge Summit coming. Talk to us about what's going on right now in the moment, and then I want to kind of get back into your history and what's kind of motivated you. Because one certification after another on Facebook, I've been noticing like you've been really charging ahead with your own training and empowerment. So talk to us.
Yeah, I discovered the Center for Coaching certification last January of 2018 after leaving Verizon. And I thought, you know what, I want to check out coaching and I want to see what that means. And so I got involved, and I'm in a cohort with 8 other coaches from around the country. And it has been humbling. It has been exciting. It has been life-changing. And all of the work that I'm doing is helping others, because really coaching is not about therapy. It's about moving people forward. It's propelling them forward. And it's all about what the client wants. Many people don't even realize what coaching's about. It's really about asking the questions. It's about asking questions, about being present, about listening, and helping people and empowering them to move forward, and having our clients have the accountability. Because in the end, you're the person that's got to do the work. So when you have the accountability, it makes a difference. So some of the things I'm working on are a chapter in a coaching book. So Kathy Liska is my mentor, my teacher, an amazing woman from the Center for Coaching Certification, top 5 life-changing people in my life. And she is writing her 10th book, and I am one of the chapters in it. And it's going to be the 6 C's of transformation coaching. I am collaborating with 3 other healers on an auto power surge on Friday nights. And there'll be 4 Friday nights in the fall, getting people into their authentic power and just working with individual clients, and also getting ready to speak to a group of women from LOT, which is Leaders of Today and Tomorrow, about the difference between leadership between men and women and how we can have systemic change as we move forward.
That is amazing. That's a lot too. You got a lot going on. So talk to me, because obviously you're impassioned. You want to help people. So kind of take us back. What's your background, education-wise, experience-wise, that sort of brought you to this day where you're so passionate? Talk to us about the motivations of James McCarthy.
Well, my mom, Peg Buckley, said I came out of the room, A, running, and B, caring about people. She said, that's all I've ever cared about is people. So for me, since I was a little girl, I've wanted to be involved with people and connecting people. So I still have my best friends since I was 3. I have all my friends from high school. I have my friends from college. I've collected people throughout my 30 years at Verizon. And now in Master Networks, I have created a new network of people that have upped my game in where I am today. And so I was lucky enough to get hired right out of college. And I was in customer service, and I worked in the corporate library at 9X and did all different things. But my passion came from loyalty. It became my 3rd child. I ran the Small Biz Rewards program, the business to business program for loyalty for Verizon for 18 years. People used to say, Jane, you have become an evangelist for loyalty. I believe in relationships. And loyalty is not an easy thing to measure, because it takes a long time. It's not a widget. So you have to spend a tremendous amount of time, and you have to sing for your supper every year, because the measurement is really about the emotion that you bring to the table. So when I got the opportunity in 2018 to take a package, I said, this is my time. I'm ready. I'm ready to jump and do something. I was driving in the car. I had just come from a sales meeting where I was talking about Small Biz Rewards. And I said, what am I going to do? And I remembered being in my vendor's building 3 years ago. And I walked into a conference room, and everybody in the room had brown wigs on and purple. And they had a huge sign that said JaneSTORM. And I said, what is this? And they said, Jane, when you show up, we don't brainstorm, we JaneSTORM. You connect people with ideas better than anybody we know. And I said, there's my name. That's my company. Then I had to figure out what I was going to do.
Right.
Got involved with Kathy Liska and another organization, Our Sisters, which was, I believe, was my training ground for where I am today, because Kelly Hager was the CEO of Our Sisters. And we actually went around and heard stories from 53 women of every race, color, creed, and circumstance. It was the most humbling work I have done in my life, even after working with the American Cancer Society for 10 years, because Our Sisters, these were real stories. I met people who had someone in their family murdered, or someone attempted murder on them. I learned about sex trafficking. I learned about divorce and grief. I learned so much from women, because when you tell your story, it is so authentic and real, and it brings you to another level. Mm-hmm. And then we took that information and we decided to start a branding course where we taught people how to profitably public speak and to get them to their power. And then I met Master Networks, and I added a tagline, a positive force for your future. And I have to say that Master Networks has become one of my biggest advocates on being able to do coaching. And so those three pieces with the foundation from Verizon has created JaneSTORM. What is JaneSTORM? It's literally taking people through a series of conversations. I do it over the phone for the first 2 sessions, because what I have found is that people edit themselves. They get nervous when they see me writing. So when I do it over the phone, they're more authentic and they're more real. And we go through what I call protecting your core. And we're looking at your lifestyle, your personal, your relationships, your career, your finance, and your health. And we take it all in, and it's just a conversation. And then the third session, as you know, is what I call the magic. It's the gift. And what I have found is the gift really comes back to me, because I get to meet people on a very different level. And 98% of the people that have come to me have said, wow, after the third session. One woman said, oh my God, I didn't know what was wrong. It's about expectations. We put so much expectations on others and ourselves. I expect everybody to be happy at the end of JaneSTORM. In this case, she called me 2 hours later and she said, you know what, Jane? I didn't get it at first, but this was the biggest aha moment I have had in years, because I realized I'm doing too much. And if I hadn't gone through this process, I wouldn't have known that. So it was a great moment for realizing that it's not about Jane. It's about infusing and being a conduit to your ideas and being impactful and inspiring you to get out of your mind clutter and into your power.
Yeah, I love that. And I know something that's heard it mentioned before, but I think I've heard you mention it more than anybody else. This idea of mind clutter, and just as you're talking about, thinking about my own process. I think we always internalize things, but that idea of, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? And the idea that you probably know the answer to that question. You just got to get out of your own way. Talk to us about some of the, I don't know if it's appropriate to say the successes that you've had, but some of the things that you've sort of dealt with in that coaching process to help people with issues like that. How do you clear up that mind clutter?
I think one of the things that I've learned from coaching is what's between our ears and overthinking. I'm actually going to do a whole 6-week mastermind course about overthinking, because I think so many people wake up at 2:00 in the morning overthinking. And one of the things that I've been able to do is, there was a client that came to me and she's an overthinker and she's lacks in confidence. And going through confidence exercises with her and getting people to realize that they need to pop. And what is pop? It's pointing out the positive. It's going with optimism. It's getting affirmations and gratitude, and realizing that every one of us is unique and we all bring something to the table. And sometimes it just takes someone else to help you figure out what it is you bring to the table. So once you get the confidence, and I've seen that where I've watched people, and also the other thing is the Affirmation Story, and Ken Blanchard says that when you first hear something, you reject it. By the third time, you may start to accept it, but it takes 10 times to actually do the work in your subconscious. And so with the affirmation stories and working with your subconscious, the people that are doing that work, I have seen switch careers in the last 6 months. I've done 3 mind maps with people that I had done in January. They've gone through all of their action items and they're starting over again. And they're excited and they're optimistic and they've pointed out the positives in their life.
Oh yeah, I think just the word confidence is resounding in my ears, because when you sit back and you look at what you've accomplished and you're actually able to get out of your own way, that confidence that you're able to gain from that is so huge. Finding ways to give people confidence in themselves has got to feel pretty good.
Yeah. And the shoulds, getting, there was a time in Jane McCarthy's life where she gave advice all the time. All right. I was known for giving advice. I was known for being in other people's lanes. I've spent the last 3 years with a mantra of stay in your own lane, Jane. And as a life coach, it has taught me so much about, it's not about what I think is right. And one of the mantras I've given to people lately is, I saw this quote: I know who I am. I know who I am not. And both of them are okay. When we know who we are and we go for the strengths and we push out our strengths, people see it and we start to blossom and we flourish.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I don't know if you saw before, but Glow's on always. And she was saying that you look amazing. So I want to definitely give her a shout out. Another coach, fabulous coach in the Master Networks. Folks, for anybody that's watching that doesn't know what Master Networks is, it is a networking organization. We highly recommend if you're looking for networking opportunities and a chance to improve your pitch and your flow and chances to meet with people. That is how Jane and I met. And met many wonderful folks that have been part of BizDev. So I'm really thankful for that opportunity as well. Let's talk about affirmations, right? Affirmations work. So talk to us about why affirmations work and why you include that in your work.
Affirmations are the practice of positive thinking. And when you come up with an affirmation, it should start with I am or I will. And then you want to have an action verb in there. So, and you want to have something that's positive and you want to believe it and you want to repeat it. So clients that come to me get affirmation statements for every part of their personal, career, finance, health, relationships, and lifestyle. And then those affirmations, some people put them on their phone and they have it as an alarm. Other people hang them up in their refrigerator or wherever it is. And so an affirmation that I've had recently is...
I'm just going to interrupt because I really love the alarm idea. I haven't tried that yet with the one that we created for me. I've definitely been listening to it to go to sleep, which I got to say is a little hit and miss for me because by the end of the day, and I got kids and wife, and you know, it's not always convenient to throw the headphones on, but as an alarm, because the alarm is always going off in the morning, and sometimes it's going off for a while. That is wonderful. I gotta institute that in my daily plan. That is a wonderful way to use that recording of the affirmation. I love that.
I have a huge one on my refrigerator, and it says, I am making healthy choices. And I think of my friend Stacey Hendry and my friend Melanie Sessa every single time I go to my refrigerator and say, and my friend Beth Donovan, who actually is a fellow coach with me. And she's actually is a huge inspiration. On her own, Cameron, she went from over 500 pounds to less than 240 pounds on her own. And she is a life coach, and she has been an inspiration to me in my coaching cohort. And she is the one that helped me come up with the affirmation, I am making healthy choices. So just something so simple.
We'll have to share our information. That's an amazing story. That is wild. Yes. That is wild. So talk to us about, just because I want to dig a little bit deeper in this, whether somebody's working with you or sort of figuring it out on their own in terms of creating affirmations, because this is the power of positive thinking, right? This is how we make our businesses better, how we make our family lives better. I know part of our process was not only talking about what I wanted to do business-wise, but how I wanted to connect with my family in a stronger way, also connecting with my wife specifically in a dedicated way. And even with like social network, trying to get people together on Friday night because I want to expand my social network. So talk to us about how people can put these affirmations together for themselves so that they can really maximize what they want to get out of their days and their life.
Yeah, it goes back to protecting the core. And I'll tell you a funny story. So I had a client come to me and she said, Jane, I've been hearing about you. I need affirmations. Just write me affirmations and I'll be good to go. And I said, oh, that's not how it works. And so by the second session, she's like, oh my God, I didn't know I was going to have to dig so deep. I thought you were just going to hand me a sheet of affirmations and we were going to be done. That is not how it works. You have to do the work. You have to believe the affirmations. All of us can sit here and say, I am making healthy choices, but you have to believe it. You have to do the work that goes behind it. And so that's what the JaneSTORM process is. It's not just about writing out things. It's finding out what's between your ears. It's finding out what you're stuck with and where you can move forward. And that's how you do affirmations. And so there are tons of things out there on affirmations. I've got some stuff on my site. I've got a toolkit that I have that's getting put out on my website, which has some affirmation exercises that people can do as a precursor if they want to check out how they could do it for themselves.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So everybody can go to JaneSTORM.com. I'll put it into the comments as well, because I want folks to definitely take advantage of those things. Talk to us about the creativity behind map making, mind mapping. So, one of the things that was really cool out of the process, in addition to this very long affirmation that we created that hit all these notes, you created a mind map, with goals, which I thought, was, I got to put it more to use right now as I'm thinking about it. But very clearly, in each piece of my life, there was a goal. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So what happened is I worked with a guy about 8 months ago, and he said to me, I love the affirmation stories, but he's got more of a left brain. He's like, I would love to see this somewhere that I could hang it up. And so I created a mind map where I've got a circle in the middle, which is the core. And once again, we go through those 6 items, and on each of those are branches. So what is a mind map? It's a diagram to use and visually organize thoughts and ideas. So what we do is we co-create together from the affirmation story. What are your next plans? And what do you need to do for personal? And what do you need to do for lifestyle? And what do you need to do with relationships? Not need, what do you want to do? And when you do that, you then have a date that's associated with it, so that you're actually going to be accountable for yourself. And many of my clients either hang them up in front of them in their desk. Once again, they put them in their phone. I've got a client that made hers a vision board. So she's got the mind map, and then she worked with a fellow colleague, Liz Gabor, and she has the vision board behind it with pictures, so that she created the two together. And my sister, Maggie Pinkway, is an intuitive card reader, and she and I are putting a workshop together where we're going to take mind mapping and vision boarding and create something together with that as well.
I love that, because that sounds artistic too, which is another pet project. So I love all those pieces kind of put together. I think one of the sort of big revelations in terms of understanding productivity for anybody is like, okay, I want to do this now. It's like time blocking, get it on the map, but also just knowing that you have to do it. I have a book full of notes. I went to a class and I got all this information. There's all these things that I know that I should do. All right, I got to go pick up the kids from school. I got to go make lunch. I got to go change the oil. Yeah. Right? Life gets in the way of our priorities, right? And so how do you recenter yourself, bring yourself back to, okay, this is the goal that I have for today. This is the goal that I have for this week. This is the goal I have for my life. And how do I keep on track with that? So that mind map and that visual piece is so big. Just writing down goals, right? So, I really appreciate working with somebody like yourself, but I think for folks that, maybe their income isn't, where it needs to be, or they're not ready, or they don't feel like they have the time, one thing that you can start right now on the BizDev side of things is just get started and write down a goal. And like you said, put it up in front of you, whether it's on your desk, on the refrigerator, right? Especially if that goes around healthy eating and moderation and that sort of thing, put it where you're going to see it, part of those healthy habits. I love the book, Atomic Habits. It
Yes.
talks about that. Listen, if you want to eat more fruits and vegetables, put them out where you can see them. This
Yes.
is the same principle, right? If you want to be more on track with your goals, put those goals out where you can see them and where you can take from that fruit basket of goals as you're passing by, making sure that your brain is on it. I love that. So talk to me a little bit about more, what are you doing outside of coaching? What's the personal life of JaneSTORM? What is a part of the storm beyond Master Networks right now? How are you spending your days beyond just educating yourself like mad and all that jazz?
So I actually have, I always say that I'm loyal in every part of my life. So I have a husband of 25 years who's amazing. And, we've been home now since March. So he's one of my biggest cheerleaders. And so we get to do things together. My daughter is 22 and she moved to Nashville. Colleen moved in the middle of the pandemic. So she is working through, how she's going to manage staying down there and getting to be in a place where she's really happy. And then I have a son who's 19 who just started as a sophomore transfer to New Paltz. And the hysterical thing about him is I have an 85-year-old. I shouldn't say that out loud. She's going to kill me. But my mom is going to be 85. Peg Buckley is going to be 85 on September 13th. And 3 weeks ago, she came up from Florida and she took over my office. And I moved into my daughter's office and into my daughter's bedroom and made it an office so that my mom has pretty much an apartment because she was getting lonely down there. And, the pandemic was scaring her to a point where it was time for her to come up. She's actually done face-to-faces with people from Master Networks. She's on 2 calls a week with friends of mine from Master Networks. She's become like Buckley is the star of Master Networks. And so my son has a bedroom next door and he's just realizing how, well, he's always known I'm loud, but now he realizes how loud he is. The JaneSTORM is way too close to him. And so he has moved his office for school 2 rooms away with 2 big doors so that he can have his space. And so we're just navigating through this and seeing people socially distant outside and making the best of this situation because it is life-changing for all of us. And, every morning waking up with gratitude and being thankful. On Tuesday, my husband Brian and I got to go see my father-in-law, who's going to be 91 on September 27th. We hadn't seen him live, Cameron, since March. He's in assisted living a mile away. I had not seen him live. And so we got to have a visit with him. And it was so beautiful. It was a half hour, but he looked happy and he was just so happy to see us. And that was a nugget of love and gratitude to take away for this week.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a big, important message there that, I'm seeing it with my kids and we see them every day, but whether it's somebody that's just not getting enough physical interaction in general, or just maybe not getting enough one-on-one time. And, from us talking that I do spend a good deal of time with my kids, but even, I have to be sort of aware that, this one's getting a little more anxious and they need a little bit more time even than, give. And I big up to the single moms and dads out there. It's got to be incredibly difficult. I know one of my friends who's a teacher, she's just like, okay, so kids are back to school, whether it's September 8th, September 21st in the city, but, who's taking care of my kid? How am I watching my child? And I don't want a babysitter, right? I want to take care of my family, my child. I want to, give them that attention and support they need. I don't want to leave them on their own with somebody that's just, a stand-in. Let me call out and say Maggie's says, I love Jane's mom. And Glow says attitude, gratitude is key. And to that point, and going back to kind of, talking about your young, but not very young, 19, 20-year-old kids, what is your advice for the younger folks and parents of younger folks in terms of the whole idea around, mind clutter, I know in talking to my 14-year-old who's standing by, that's done a video of our bizdev live. I got her working in the office and putting up videos and all that. Whether it's her, she's entering 9th grade of high school this year, or somebody that's a little bit older, maybe they're just getting into the job market, finishing up school. How would you advise them on clearing their mind clutter and moving forward into this world that is less, certainly less certain than we would very much like it to be?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. And I just have to, before I go there, I just have to say, give props to you, because I've coached many, many clients, and there has been no one that I have seen the dedication to your kids. Do you know that Cameron actually sets out time every week with his kids? I don't think everybody does that. He puts it on the schedule. He's got little kids and he makes them feel important. They get dates with him. And I think that's
I'm certain that it's not unique to me. And I just try to keep up with probably a lot of moms out there that, spend like a majority of their day with their kids. I'm just trying to make sure I do at the very least my part. And then also, I've been married for 16 years. You've been married for 25 years. I think that, making it work in not only a way for your spouse, but for you is really important. And, my way just happens to be make sure like I put it on the calendar. And so me and my wife, we had our date lunch, because our date kind of walk that we had talked about, like on Saturday, she's picked up some work. Thank goodness.
Right.
We're in COVID, so every little bit helps. So our weekend plans have sort of changed. But we went out to a diner yesterday, nothing extremely fancy or anything.
Yep.
Just a moment where it's just me and her. We live in a household. My father-in-law's in the house. Our 4 kids are in the house. So, getting a little one-on-one time is really important to schedule. But I don't know that I'm doing anything that's that unique.
Listen, I've coached a lot of people. You are. So let's go back to the question on what can people do. So one of the things that people can do is really know that it goes back to confidence, right? And one of the things that even I'm teaching my daughter is #you do you. What are the unique things that you bring to the table? And do a brainstorm, JaneSTORM, brainstorm with yourself, brainstorm with people that know you, brainstorm with people that know, love, and trust you, and figure out what it is. Ask people, what do you admire about me? What is it that I bring to the table? Because a lot of times we don't see it. And the other thing that has changed my life has been this index card, okay? And I'll tell you a little bit about it. There's a woman, Brooke Boone, who is an Aris sister. And she taught me this about 9 months ago, and it has changed my life. And it's power versus force. And it's David Hawkins. And when we live in force, we have guilt and shame, and it's our ego, and we have expectations and blame and anxiety and anger. And then the middle line is courage and humility and neutrality. But what we really want to do is get to our power. And that's by having affirmations and finding love and joy and seeking out the joy. And what is the reason that we're here? And a willingness and curiosity to try things new and to talk to people new. 3 years ago, my boss said to me, Jane, what's something new you want to do? I said, leave me alone. I love my job. I don't want to change anything. Cameron, if you had told me 3 years later, I'd be meeting new people and learning new things on a daily basis, I would have thought you were crazy. Right. So get out there and learn. Curiosity makes a huge difference. And find someone that will give you clarity, that will help you with the feedback that you need. And it's not always going to be, you don't want people that are only going to give you positive feedback. You want the people that are going to say, constructively, this is where you can make a difference, because that's how you're going to learn and that's how you're going to grow.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the things too, we're always trying to grow ourselves, but I think one of the things that's really positive, it's difficult to ask people, hey, what do you like best about me? Give me a compliment. It's that fishing for a compliment thing. But I think one thing that we can do, and it helps other people because you lead by example, is if you know somebody, whether it's your kids or it's somebody that you work with professionally, to be vulnerable and open up and say, hey, I've noticed that you're really awesome at coaching. You're really awesome at words of encouragement. You're the most amazing bike rider that I've ever seen. You should be teaching other people how to ride, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Because that really can help and inspire somebody to get started on their way. You may think, oh, they don't need that. They know that. No, they may not. And they may need the encouragement and that confidence builder. And it's really something that is very easy to do. And it's a great gift that you can give folks.
Maggie's putting in that her affirmations pop up on her phone. She was one of the first clients to do that. And if you don't know Maggie Carey, she takes the commotion out of your promotion.
Yes, she does.
She takes the really hard stuff that a lot of us don't know technically and makes it easy. One of the things I wanted to say is I'm all about Post-it notes and different quotes and taking words. And a word that has gotten me through and has helped with others is patience and peek. Peek into what you want, right? Where are you peeking? And patience, empathy, acceptance, and kindness, right? So that's what we're looking for. And one of the things I used to sing to my kids, oh, they loved it, I can tell you right now, do your best, do whatever it takes, and give it all you got. And I'd always say, just smile. It makes such a difference when you smile. And my kids roll their eyes now, but they know those are two things that mom is always going to say to them. So, do your best, you do you, be unique, and find your strengths.
I love so this is like psychology stuff. It gets really complicated when you want to get into the brain. I try to break it down and really explain it really easily when I'm talking to staff. But the idea that, if you tell a depressed person, I want you to smile, it sounds super counterintuitive, but it's brain science. When you smile, you release these chemicals that help you feel happier. So you may not feel like smiling right at the moment, but if you push yourself to do it, I think a big piece of advice, especially with COVID, but just wherever you are in life, you're starting to feel down, you wake up and you don't feel like the happy version of yourself that you want to be. Get the meditation and the yoga, but creating that positive mindset where you feel comfortable smiling, it turns things around. And then that connectivity, because I'm in hospitality, so I always explain it. When you smile, you make somebody else smile. So now you're feeling good. When they smile, your natural reaction is to reflect that. So you're more encouraged to smile. It's just like a happiness multiplier on a psychology level. And it's crazy. It's something that's simple, but It helps sell. It helps you feel better. It is something that is a very basic kind of thing that,
it's your signature, right? It can be your signature. My friend's mom used to say, smile and no one will look further. There are so many people that have had to get used to being on Zoom. I would say a lot of that is women, because once again, it's between their ears. And there are a lot of women that do not feel comfortable on Zoom. And that has been something that people have got to get over. And
I think there's probably a lot of men that fall into that as well. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's probably something that's really pertinent and might create a couple sound bites that people can share out or share with folks. Why do you think it is that people are so uncomfortable with this video conferencing?
Judging. They're judgmental of themselves. It's self-awareness and it's awareness of others, and it's overthinking, right? People don't realize that 99% of the time, no one is thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. It goes back to staying in your own lane. When you stay in your own lane and you don't worry about what other people are thinking about you, you rise to the occasion. And I will give a shout out to my friend, Coach Chloe, because that's something she does so well, right? She is authentic and real. And she comes from a place of love and compassion. And she brings the attitude of gratitude, as she says. And, one of the things that I will say is we keep meeting all these different people. And a lot of us say we're life coaches. We are life coaches, but we all have something different to give. And it's the same thing with real estate agents and life insurance agents and people in your industry. Everybody has something to give, and there is a client for everyone. So when you are on,
just to kind of amplify that, I truly believe that, and I'm talking about video strategy with this new business that I'm developing. The idea that you don't have expertise is ridiculous. If you've lived and you've done something, you know how to do something probably really well and probably a lot better than others. And if it's something that everybody does, like, let's say, I'm really good at laundry. You're saying, well, everybody does laundry. Yeah, but not everybody does laundry. So there's somebody that needs your information. There's a lot of college kids trying to figure out how to live on their own, people that have just moved out of mama's house, that have never done laundry in their life, and they're looking for the information that you have to offer. And that's a silly example, but really just a great example of the idea that just about every single person, there's something that you do and something that's awesome. Anne-Marie offers up, in terms of this conversation around why folks might be uncomfortable, that you're staring at yourself for hours at a time. I'll argue there, if you're doing that, in terms of staring just at yourself, you're doing video conferencing wrong. You should get yourself set and then look into other people's eyes. When I speak, I try to look into the camera, and fortunately I can sort of shift off so that I can look at comments and whatnot. Jane doesn't have the benefit of that today, but when you're Zoom conferencing, when you're speaking, look into the camera and forget about what you look like. Nobody. At the end of the day, my personality, my sentiment on this is, yes, people care, but they don't care, right? You care so much more about what you look like than anybody else does. If you're doing some things that are solid on, branding and just, making sure that you don't have smuts on your lip or whatnot, something that's really incredibly, nobody cares.
But it's interesting because it is a big thing. So, it's funny, Anne-Marie is my sister, and she spends about 9 hours a day on conference calls on Zoom. And she didn't do it before. She actually works for Cornell Cooperative, and she is a teacher for women who are getting back into life after having issues. And she does incredible work, but it's been a big shift for her. And do you know what's something really cool that's come out of COVID for us, Cameron? My family, we're not Italian, we're Irish. We don't see each other every week. When we get together, it's sometimes like 4 times a year. We're a big family. I have 2 sisters and a brother, and about Peg, my mom. Do you know for 22 weeks, we as adults have met every single Sunday at 4:00 and been on a Zoom call and have gotten to know each other differently. And we're learning about each other's businesses. And my mom has been involved.
That's amazing, by the way. I wish my siblings and family was doing that. That's amazing.
It's amazing, and it was organic, and we're still doing it, even though Peg is up in New York. And so, we've been able to learn about Anne-Marie's work that we never knew before. And my sister is a 2nd grade teacher in Katona, sister-in-law, Kim Buckley, and she actually it has a grant on how to do virtual classrooms. She had the grant before COVID, and she is now bringing that into her life. And so we've been able to learn from each other about what it's like to be on Zoom and how to do the presentations, because so much goes back to that big word of confidence. Yes. Confidence. And there are a lot of people out there that don't have it. And not only that, they don't care. I've been on conference calls where people are in their bed. You have to take a little bit of initiative and accountability for where you are and how you are presenting yourself in the world.
Oh yeah, I've definitely been on those conference calls with the craziness, just absolute craziness. And we have tools right now, like you just have to spend a little bit of time, so you can completely hide your background. I'm actually in my office. I'm not in a bedroom, but if you're in your bedroom, you got Zoom backgrounds, you got green screens. There's a way to to make it work and make it something that is actually interesting for yourself and for your viewers. It's not that complicated. You just gotta care, right? That's it. I wanted to talk to the idea that there's opportunities right now that normally wouldn't exist. So I mean, we're in challenging times, obviously, for a lot of folks. My business has been really heavily impacted, but there's also opportunities around virtual classrooms, around virtual offerings, around services that are in more demand than ever. I was just speaking with somebody that does business consulting and coaching for large firms yesterday, and they're busier than they have ever been.
Yes.
That's not obviously the case for everybody, but there is opportunity out there, and having that abundance mindset that we've talked about is so key.
And that's virtual speaking is becoming I'm about to do 2 virtual speaking events in the next month, and that's coming from I kept saying that we're planting seeds. I'm planting seeds, and then the garden's going to flourish. One of the things I want to talk about, because it's important for what your work does and what you've been doing over this whole time since March, is video. Mm-hmm. I was on a call with 8 coaches yesterday, and people are saying, once again, I will say that women were saying, I don't feel comfortable online. I don't want to go live. I don't want to do video. I want to tell you something. I did a test this week. So I had a written Facebook post, and it was on my JaneSTORM page. I got a reach of 640 with 233 engagements. Last week, I did a Facebook post recorded that talked about Rocketbooks, my favorite thing in the world. You can find it on my JaneSTORM Facebook page. I got 2,300 reach and 245 engagements. So think of that expansion of how many people you're reaching when you do video. If you hate it, you got to get over it, because it's the wave of the future. We lost you. We lost your voice.
Appreciate that. Trying to get folks to do video and trying to make that business case for it, that doesn't have to be complicated. There's so many tools right now. You can go on your phone, just do a short video, take something like UCut, which is a free app. You don't have to pay anything, super easy to use. You can go on there, add some super things. I've advocated for TikTok. People just get turned off when you say TikTok. Like I know I already lost somebody just saying it, but the idea that you can go on to a platform like that, you don't even have to post on the platform. You can just create a video using the tools that are there. So just think about this as a new age camcorder. This device that we just hold in our hands, that we can now communicate with the world, create video, things that you would have needed $10,000 at a minimum just to start doing, with video, titling, all this kind of stuff is just super available to you. So why not? It's free. And the numbers that you were talking to just now, we engage with videos. If you are watching this, right? You are watching a video, right? We interact and engage with video. And if you look at your own usage of social media and see what you interact with and what you want to see, now when I go and I'm doing news, I still read news articles, but usually those news articles are attached to some sort of video. There's some sort of video component, which lends authenticity, right? I'm seeing somebody do it. It's a whole new world, and there's deep fake and all that kind of stuff. But if you go into a trusted news source and you're getting some video that is of somebody on something, you're now we got riots and this, that, the other. You don't want that third party. You want to see it for yourself. It's such a big deal. You know how you're using it. So if you're selling jewelry, if you're selling coaching, if you're selling this, I'm hosting a program on Wednesdays called the Lunch Bunch for meeting professionals, and we're booking in speakers. I don't want to book somebody in that I haven't seen them speak. So how am I going and researching who I'm going to use? I'm looking for the videos. Are they engaging on video? We're going to be on video, right?
Yes.
So are they engaging? I want that social proof there, and video is a great way to provide that social proof. And Anne-Marie says, I wholeheartedly agree, videos invite engagement.
I just have to give a shout out to my friend Shay Barefield. It's CHA Barefield, Barefield. Okay. I met her through our sisters. Cameron, you're a runner. She actually does her videos while she's running.
Wow.
And she is the most authentic, real, amazing person when it comes to getting out video. And you know what? It's not perfect. And that's the beautiful of it. That's the beauty of it, right? When we're so perfect, people don't believe us. The truth of the matter is we all put on our pants the same way. It's one of my favorite things my husband has taught me. He works in high-end homes for millionaires and for hedge funds. And he always says they put their pants on the same way I do. So we don't have to think of people as being better than us. We just have to stay in our lane and be our best.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this is the thing too. Part of my whole strategy, where this is video number 88 for BizDev Live. You don't get good at something. Thank you. You don't get good at something unless you're actually doing it, right? You have to execute. You have to go out. If you want to get good at something, if you want to be awesome, it's not going to be from the first day. So get over yourself. Do that first video. Do that 5th video. Do that 20th video. And it'll grow, and you'll get better at it, and it may lead to a whole new thing. I mean, one of the cool things, and I've told the story before about Renee Pride saying, hey, you might like what you're doing now better than what you were doing before. And I think that's so incredibly important. You can find something that, maybe you're working in a corporate office and you start a side hustle. Maybe you're doing something in the office and you're advocating for a new line or a new idea. Yes. You're going to find something that is going to make either take you from something that you don't necessarily love to something that you love, or create something that is so much better in line with what you do, right? So, I love like the kind of the Google concept of like the passion projects. And, I talked yesterday about investing in your business. So, one of the things that I know with Toth event staff, it'd be interesting for you to kind of add in on this, with JaneSTORM. So you get good, you're selling your product. What are you adding? Because you want to continue to grow, add revenue, add different lines. Okay, now I can help people. Now I got a following. I can offer this product. I can offer this service. I can train other people to coach this way because this has been so successful, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that the experience matches what you're doing, right? So I've actually had the opportunity to be on 11 podcasts in the last 3.5 months.
That's amazing.
Most of those podcasts are from people that it's not their full-time job, but but then some of them have actually mixed it up and it has become their full-time job because they dabbled, they saw it worked. And by the way, that's another way. If you don't love video, find the podcasts and you can find them. They're out there. If you have questions on video or podcasts on coaching, get in touch with me. I love to share ideas. I love to collaborate, and I love to see people get to the next step in their lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's some really good content out there. And I think one of those things, probably on podcasts, we're probably all not listening to this. We sort of, even though there's 1,000 different shows on Netflix, you said there's a new thing, and everybody's kind of takes it in. But podcasts, I feel like it's so new, and I don't use iPhone, so there's a whole bunch of people that are listening to podcasts on Apple, iTunes Music. I'm listening on Spotify. I listen to a financial podcast called Snacks Daily. I listen to Michelle Obama's new podcast, which is really, really well produced. Your podcast, if you're starting a podcast, probably is not going to be produced because you don't have the budget of the former First Lady. That's okay. But if you want to see it done and done really, really well with music, copyrighted music included, and just fantastic production. They got a list of people that are working on it at the end of the podcast, which I'm like, oh my goodness. But just a really, really well done podcast. I listen to Gary Vee, but I don't know, maybe you want to shout out some of the folks that you're listening to on podcasts, but these are things that are really great. And while you're exercising, you're expanding your knowledge and feeding your brain.
So I have 2 quotes from Michelle Obama from her book, Becoming. One of them is, it goes exactly to what we're talking about. And this is what I would tell young people. If you don't get out there and define yourself, you'll be quickly and inaccurately defined by others. That is one. And the other is, for me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach to continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. And I feel like that is the mission of JaneSTORM too, is really to get people moving forward and on a journey for their positive future.
Oh yeah, and I see it. I love those quotes. I'm gonna add another one because you're inspiring me. In the beginning of the book, she talks about being asked what she's going to be when she's an adult. I don't know if you remember that part. And I think it's like the intro, like the forward, but it was, because I have 4 very young children at home. It hit me hard. It was like, because we were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she's like, you can be so much. And I think that's really important for us to understand as an adult. Like, you don't have to be one thing. You can be so much more than that. And we usually are. Right? Whether we're mothers and fathers and then business folks, and then, we have our hobbies, involved in a nonprofit. We are more than just what our job is or what we necessarily are defined by our neighbors as, right?
Yes.
And that's so big. And so asking your kids, what are some of the things that you want to do? What are your dreams versus what do you want to be when you grow up? It can be such a much more positive and open statement that allows for growth. I thought that was really, really cool. She's a smart lady.
How you ask the question, right? Asking open questions instead of closed questions make all the difference. I do want to give a shout out to my friend Sam Willing of Imperfection Wins, which is a podcast. And I want to tell you a quick story. So Sam's father lost his eyesight years ago, but he got involved with a guy named Gary. And Gary started to make these hearts. And her father went to her one day and said, what do you think of these hearts? And she said, oh, Dad, I am starting a podcast and it's going to be called Imperfection Wins, because we're all imperfect and perfectly imperfect. So he went to Gary, and Gary started to make hearts for her. And she put a little card together, and it says, use this heart as a reminder that things don't need to be perfect to have meaning. And then she wanted to start a tidal wave of compassion. And so a bunch of people started to talk about Gary's hearts. And by December of last year, Gary lived in a trailer park, didn't have a lot of money, was really falling on hard times. He was able to buy a toilet, a new toilet. He was able to buy a pair of glasses from the sale of Gary's hearts. By March, after we did more work with promoting this through Our Sisters, and a lot of the Our Sisters rose to the occasion for the compassion of the gratitude and moving forward for Gary, he was able to get out of his trailer. But in January, Sam and her husband went to Gary and they wanted to pay for his electricity for the year. And he said, I have so much abundance from you. I'm not going to keep this money. I'm going to pass it on to someone else. This is a man that has very little, but he has compassion and empathy and a heart. And so anybody that wants to find out more about this, it's Imperfection Wins, and it's Sam Willing, and Gary's hearts are creating a tidal wave of compassion, which is so necessary. Do you know that there are 86,400 seconds in a day? If each one of us took 1 or 2 of those seconds to say thank you and give gratitude, think of how amazing the world would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I think that idea of it doesn't matter how much you have, it's not that defines your happiness. It's how grateful you are for what you have. You don't have to have a lot to be happy and be grateful for what you have. And that's cool that it's actually working out where he's improving his life. I love that story. There's so much to it. How can folks get in contact with you, set up coaching? Who are some folks that you would really like to connect with in the world?
So JaneSTORM clients want to break through their mind clutter, which you've heard me say. They want to maximize their potential, and they want to do it in a safe space. I work with teams, I work with individuals. It's people that know they have potential, they just don't know how to get to their potential. That's who I'm looking for, that will make a difference. There are different things. I call it the Appetizer of Coaching. There are tapas where you can come and learn a little bit. Go to JaneSTORM.com. You can get a free toolkit and just get in touch. Jane@JaneSTORM.com is another way to get to me by email.
That's beautiful. All right. I am so excited that I got the opportunity to work with you. This has been great. I feel like we could probably go on all day, but I don't want to drive people too crazy. I thank everybody for tuning in. I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. As you know, building a biz dev company, that's, first thing is video strategy, but the long term, you have so much to offer. Thanks so much for doing this with me, Jane.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great. And it's been a gift to work with you, Cameron. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. I'm going to try to get the biz dev thing here. If you can just do me a favor and just once again, talk about who you want to connect with in the world. And then I will shift this over to the biz dev theme and outro, and then you can say goodbye to folks.
Great. Boom! JaneSTORM here. Do you know people that want to say wow? Are they looking for a way to move forward? Do they want to get to their yes? Are they looking for some swag? There may be some swag involved. It could be an umbrella. It could be a spirit animal. It could be an angel card. It could be a JaneSTORM deck of cards. Get in touch. Be curious. Let's work together. JaneSTORM, a positive force for your future.
Love it.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C,
Hold on,
Cameron T.
Cameron.
BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.